Russ, how are we doing today?
Doing great. Glad to be here on a Friday morning. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty darn good. Yeah, the sun's starting to creep up a little over here
Well, that's
on
nice.
the
Well, I
west.
wish I could say the same.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. So, Russ, for folks who aren't sure who you are or what you do you mind
Yep.
telling us a little bit?
Sure. I'm Russ Robertson. I run ATI Wealth Partners. We are a small, and by small I mean just myself, financial planning investment management shop based at the moment in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Have clients kind of scattered across the U.S., East Coast, South, West Coast, Chicago, kind of all over. Um, and yeah, so I work primarily with individuals on anything money related, planning, investments, retirement, taxes, kind of whatever's going on in their lives at the moment that involves money. I can help with.
So, when folks come to you, is it to like solve a specific problem, or is it like I don't really understand like how to set goals, or I don't really understand how money works? Like what do you
Yeah,
handle it all?
it's I handle it all. If folks are coming to me, it's generally um, from one of two things. Either they don't really understand how money works. There's sort of a sense that I should be doing something, saving for retirement or
Yeah.
doing something, but don't know what or how, or like even where to start. Um, or there is sometimes a specific question like, I want to buy a house in 2 years. Um,
Mm.
like, just talk to me about different types of mortgages, or how much do I need to save? Um, but by and large, if they're coming to me, it is going to be one of these larger, overarching. I need to do something. I don't know what it is. Or occasionally, I do get that I know what I'm supposed to do, but I don't have the time or energy to do it myself because it's not my job. My job and where all my energy goes is over here in this creative direction, and I just don't have the time to spend on what in a lot of cases is um, boring to a lot of people.
Yeah.
you know?
And confusing.
Oh
Like
yeah,
you when you said that people feel like they need to be doing something, I fall into that boat, and I know so many people who are like, I don't know what goals to set. Like we
oh
just
yeah,
know that we need money because we want to live well, like our
yeah,
life.
right,
So I'm
right, and
curious. Yeah, go.
especially at our age, it's
Yeah.
like the idea of retirement is a very nebulous thing 40 years down the road. It's like, all right, how much money do I need starting in 40 years to live for probably another 40 years at that point? uh, what do you want
Who
to do in
knows?
retirement? I don't know. I couldn't tell you what I wanted to do in 5 years from now.
Seriously. Like at the company that I work for, they changed our retirement policy, and our team was like, how do we feel about it? And I'm just like, I don't even know what retirement is, so I don't care. Like it's so far off. Um,
Right.
so I'm curious, like, what's your strategy for people who like come in and are like, I don't know what to do. I don't really have any goals necessarily. Like, how do you help people create goals? And you mentioned something when we chatted on the phone before about like if you don't feel connected to a goal, you don't really
Yeah.
have any motivation to do it. So like how do you like help people make goals?
Yeah. So I mean, there's sort of two basic parts to that, right? The first part, um, there is some impetus that has brought you to me. So let's
Mm.
talk about what that is. Like, what's going on? Is there specifically something, a house, going back to school,
Mm.
an issue with the budget because of student loans, maybe? There's something specific that has you seeking this now? Or is it just a general, hey, I got a new job, I'm making a lot of money, and like there's a big number in my checking account now. What do I do with that? Right.
Mm.
So the first part is looking at what has caused you to seek this out, because um, financial planning, financial education is kind of non-existent in our society. So if you're already at the step where you're actively looking for it and talking to me about it, there's something going on already, as a baseline for this discussion. And then the second part is just talking to people and trying to kind of take away some of the mystique around money and finance and investing and all these, rocket science-esque presentations of terms that people don't understand. And, just talking about it and really breaking it down to essentially, yeah, we can do that. Whatever you want to do, we can do it. What do you want to do? What do you want to like? Do you like travel? Do you like watches and fancy clothes? Like, what do you want? And that generally takes some time, right? Because that's a conversation. Like, you come to me and you're like, hey, I've got this money. What do I do with it? And I say, what do you like? Okay, yeah, we're gonna be going back and forth for maybe a month or so before anything happens, right?
No
It's definitely
kidding.
a process.
Like that's such a look. That's so that shouldn't be such a heavy question, but that is such a heavy question. Like, what do you like? And I'm like, I don't know. Like,
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's nothing that we necessarily ask ourselves in the day to day, and especially with regard to money, right? It's like uh, you don't often think of it in that term, but for me, the point of money is to use it at some point now or in the future to do something that brings you happiness, right?
mm,
Because I mean, sure, there's something to be said for just, yes, just make more money, but then what, right? I have a lot of people who come to me who are 60, 65, and they've been fantastic about saving all their lives. So now they're looking to retire and they have this pile of money and they don't know how to spend money. Like, they don't know how to then use it
wow.
to give themselves a retirement or just a general sort of lifestyle that they enjoy if they don't have the, go to work and save every penny kind of thing. So yeah, it's definitely an important question that serves as the basis for anything kind of financial planning, especially longer term.
That's so funny. I wonder why that's the case. And I'm curious if it's because like we don't have much autonomy as we're like growing up. It's like you go to school and then you keep going up to like through high school. It's like you're in a structure. And like if you choose to go to college or are able to go to college, like that's a structure. And then if you get a job, you're in a structured thing where you're like, so maybe it's like when you have to choose what you want to do, it's just like, I have never done that in my entire life.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right. You have all of these structures that you move through for the first, well, if you're going to grad school, 25 years of your life.
yeah.
Uh, but nowhere in that structure is money or finance, right? I mean, I think I had to do like a correspondence course for a semester in high school on
What does
like
correspondence?
consumer ed. Oh, like not like do it on your own time. Don't like not
Okay.
an actual class. It's just like, here's some assignments that you have to do over the course of, they're like due in December and it's September at this point. And
Sweet.
that was yeah, it was nice, but like that was the extent of personal finance. And like,
Wow.
what's a credit card? What's interest? You know?
Yeah, I had one personal finance class in high school and we learned how to write a check.
Oh yeah.
And I think that was about it. And like I was pretty checked out in that class. Haha, get it?
Ah,
Check. Um, and like even like when I like graduated like college or whatever and I was like paying rent via check, I would still like have to Google like how to write a check like
oh
before
yeah.
I paid
Yeah.
rent like most months. Like I just like it did not stick. So
Yeah.
I like why why do you think it's so absent?
That that is a good question. Um, it kind of boggles my mind a little bit because it is so central
Yes.
to just everything that everybody does every day.
Yes.
And you're forced to take math every year through high school, right? Geometry, algebra 2, trig. Uh, like you couldn't do maybe like an applied math and talk about interests and percentage and like how it relates to something real life. I don't know why personal finance is so non-existent. Uh,
Hmm.
Cynically, one could say uh, the
Well,
powers that be like to keep us all in a perpetual state of debt and just collect the interest, from society at large. Uh,
and
but
just to be
it's
clear,
almost April. Is this going to be live in April? Can I like put the tinfoil hat on and go full conspiracy here about how we're all debt serfs?
one, you certainly can. And then two, just to be clear, when you say one could say, that has nothing to do with how you feel. It's just one.
It's just that argument is out there on the internet.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I feel like there should be a class because obviously I'm dating Ben and he understands finance, and when I made my first like investment in a stock, I literally had him sit next to me and like talk me through every button I had to push
Yeah.
on the Vanguard app because I was like, I am going to be in trillions of dollars of debt if I am
Oh
doing
yeah.
this on my own. I was
Yeah. Yeah.
so nervous. Was like literally sweating. And there's like no there's that would be so easy to teach somebody because it's
Yes.
not that
Yes, it
hard.
would. Yeah, like that South Park episode, right, where he goes to the bank and like,
Oh
hey, we're just
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
move your
yeah.
money into some market lease, and it's gone,
Yeah, just
and it's just like, what?
like what happened?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So for folks who are listening who are like, yeah, agreed. I have no idea. And I know that for you, like there's like so much nuance to like what you should be doing because it depends on what you
Absolutely.
want to do. So like thinking about that first question in mind, but are there just some like hard and fast financial like must do's, like particularly for people like in their 20s and 30s?
Um, the short answer is no. I mean, we talked a little bit about this on the call, right? If you are
Yeah.
completely anti-money, anti-capitalist system, and want to go live in a commune under some sort of barter system, great. You can like there are people who make that work.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Um, so there are some very good rules of thumb, I would say. Certain scenarios aside, let's say that you are going to live within our capitalist society,
Yep.
and where money is important. Um, there are definitely a couple good rules of thumb. My big one is the emergency fund, right?
Yeah.
So commonly you'll hear 3 to 6 months of expenses at like in cash. Don't touch it. Separate bank account kind of thing. I'm a big stickler on that one. Like that's the first thing. If someone comes to me, it's like, let's invest. I'm like, all right, how's your emergency fund? And if it's not where it needs to be, that's where your excess savings, that's where things need to go. And then once that's okay, now we can talk about, stock market or what have you.
Yeah. That became very apparent and very scary when COVID happened and then layoffs were happening. And I was like, holy shit. Like
Yeah.
I thought like emergency saving was just kind of like I don't know, like eating your vegetables or something, or it's just like whatever,
Yeah. You got
like
to
it's
do it.
just
Yeah. Maybe something will happen to my car or,
yeah. But
yeah.
I never thought of it so seriously. I also never thought about like living expenses and like paying a lot in rent is
Yeah.
just like really scary. Like this past year we lived in a neighborhood that was more expensive and it
Mm.
was just like it was totally my idea. Ben was like we shouldn't do that and I was just like but I really want to do it. So but like when COVID hit too, it just like made me realize I was like, oh my God, like it's not cool to be like spending a lot in rent. It's
Yeah.
way cooler to be in a position where like if shit hits the fan, you're gonna be totally fine.
Right. And that's so I'll give you two more rules of thumb.
Yeah.
One is on housing.
Mhm.
1/3. Spend a third of your income on housing.
And that is
And
like the stuff that you get in your like post taxes, what you get in your bank account biweekly if you work for a
that
company.
either, I mean, if you
Okay.
want to get technical about it,
I know that is
most
super
places and
technical.
like mortgage approval will even go up to like 35 or 38%
Okay.
of the gross. So not of what's actually in your pocket, just of,
Okay.
oh, I make, whatever, 60,000 at this job. So, just 60,000. Uh, for the ease of, it's a lot easier to divide something by three than actually try and calculate 38%
Yeah,
in your
dig
head.
it. Love it.
So yeah, 1/3 of just the top line number
Okay.
on housing. Uh, and then 10 to 15% of that same top line number into savings of
Mm.
whatever vehicle,
Mm.
retirement savings, investment savings, great. And then after that emergency fund of 3 to 6 months, because like you were saying, what that emergency fund does for you is it um, buys you the ability to land on your feet, right? You get a situation where, say, COVID, and you get fired. Uh, it is maybe not a COVID situation, but let's say absent COVID, it is absolutely possible to go out and find a job relatively quickly. But the difference between having 3 to 6 months to look for a job that makes sense that you want to do versus needing to go out and start working at your Starbucks down the street because
Mhm.
you've got a rent payment due in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That is a huge difference for quality of life. And like that
Yeah.
is kind of the point of the emergency fund. Right. And
Okay.
so,
Yeah.
I say 3 to 6 months. If you are single, you're probably good with 3 months.
Mm.
If you are married and you have a kid and only one of you is working, you may want actually like closer to 12 in that
Wow.
case, right?
Yeah. Is that mostly for stress or is that for okay.
Yeah.
That okay.
Yeah. A big part of that is the stress and just peace of mind. Um, yeah, because in a situation, so say you're married, say you have a kid, and there's only it's a stay-at-home parent and a working parent, and the working parent loses their job. Um, yeah, that is a huge stress on both parents, on the kid, on the family dynamics, on personal health, on mental health. So um, the difference between okay, we got 3 months, great, I'll find something in 3 months versus we've got 6 months, we've got 12 months, like
Yeah.
no stress, right? I mean, you look at even COVID, right? So everything shuts down in, say, March of last year. If you
Mhm.
had 12 months, you probably not having much of a problem because things were coming back after, let's call it 6 months. By September, things had started coming back.
Yeah.
So if you got that 6 to 12 month savings, you can get through something to the extent of what we saw with COVID, um, without jeopardizing your um, your family's sort of quality of life in the interim,
Yeah.
right?
Wow. And so I betcha so like, definitely like if you have a family like 12 months is better. But like even for someone like I tend to worry. So
Oh
not a
yeah,
great it's not a great quality, but I do. Um that like probably a heftier emergency fund would better suit my personality because like I would just like panic. Like I have like TMJ just thinking about it honestly. Um so so is that the part where like those are like the hard and fast rules but like you should adapt it to kind of like who you are?
yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of leeway there. If you are more conservative, more worried about these things, definitely. Um, I think for me personally, if someone like that comes to me, I'm like, yeah, we can absolutely take a more conservative approach to this. If you
Mhm.
are telling me that, you spend $50,000 a year and you have $500,000 just sitting in the bank as like this 10-year emergency fund, okay, we're going to have a little bit of a talk because that's unnecessary. But
But if
yeah, you
I
can
get laid
absolutely.
off, if I get laid off, I'm set.
Yeah, I'm saying, okay, that's called early retirement,
Yeah.
not emergency fund.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. So another bucket that has become very popular with like younger folks was like, so the GameStop situation happened, and then like
that's been fun to watch this year.
oh my God, I know Ben's sister who's like in college like texted and was like, how do I invest? Like, Um
Yeah.
so people are really interested. Is that an avenue, and not so much like what you necessarily think people should do, but like what may be like the arguments like for and against like younger kids just like wanting to invest in individual stocks?
Do it. Absolutely.
Do
I'm a
it?
big fan. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Okay.
I think one, it gets you involved, right? And the knowledge that you
Mm,
gain from, okay, like you were saying earlier, I need to open the account with Vanguard. How do I open this account? Okay, now I
yes.
have this account. I'm going to buy something. You buy it and you watch it, and maybe it goes up and maybe it goes down. You make money, you lose money. It's like, but the experience that you get from actually doing that, I think is fantastic. And I think that's one of
Mm,
the good things that Robinhood and other, these sort of discount brokerages have done is brought, um, I don't want to say brought down the level of investing, but made it more accessible, right? They've
yeah.
made something that used to be, in the 80s, let me call up my broker and have him place this trade for me. And now it's like, great, I get to do it myself. So
Yeah.
yeah, all for it. Um, I would say, um, be smart about it, right? There's a lot of stories that you see, or hear or read on Wall Street Bets, about people who are taking out personal loans to invest in GameStop.
Mm.
Or, yeah, I took out this, home equity line of credit on my house, and
Oh,
put the money into GameStop. Like, okay, well, that is not the smartest thing to do, like to take on that debt to invest
yeah.
in that. But if your emergency fund's looking good and you've got some money lying around, yeah, throw it into GameStop, throw it into Bitcoin. Absolutely. I don't think investing in individual stocks is, um, ever a bad thing as long as you're not doing it with money that you don't have,
Mm.
which
That's
would be
interesting.
which would be debt.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Something that I liked that you just like mentioned, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like you kind of give yourself your own financial education by just like going through it.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, so like even if you like invested, I don't know, like $50, $100, like you could like still like like dip your toe in to like
Yeah.
what this whole thing's about.
Yep.
That's cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's cool. And then the other bucket, and there's probably zillions of other buckets that I'm not aware of, but the you mentioned like Robinhood. I
Yeah.
use Elevest,
Sure.
and it just like, and it's more of like a diversified portfolio. And what I
Yep.
love about, and I imagine Robinhood does the same, but I have like an automatic take it out of my account every month because
Yeah.
I consider it, I'm considering it like when you put on a pair of jeans and you find $20 in it, and you're like, oh shit, that's awesome. So like same thing when like if I check Ellevest, I'm just like, oh damn, I didn't know I had that money. Like, um, how do you feel about platforms like that? Like, how does that fit into like the overall piece of the pie? So like savings, individual stocks, like a diversified portfolio. Like, what are your thoughts on things like that?
Oh, you froze on me there. I missed that. I
Oh,
missed that last bit.
no, that's okay. I'll so how does like the diversification
Yeah.
portfolios like fit into everything? Like is that like
Yeah.
a good triad to have like an emergency fund, a diversified thingamabob, and then a like you can invest in individual stocks? Is that like a good trio?
That is a good trio. Diversification. is touted as like the bedrock of investing,
Mm-hmm.
um, which has some theory behind it that I don't necessarily want to get in the weeds on. But the idea is that if you invest in a lot of different things, um, it takes away some of the risk, right? If you put all your
Mm-hmm.
money into GameStop, there's a lot of risk there.
Yeah.
Like 2 days ago, the thing dropped 33% in a day.
Yeah.
Oops. If spread your money out, and GameStop drops 33%, but some of your money is in, just say the S&P 500, which ended up on the day, great. You mitigate some of the risk in the portfolio.
Okay.
Uh, so there is a lot to be said for diversification, but diversification is really a fantastic way to not lose money. It doesn't make you money.
Mm.
Uh, I mean, it'll make you money in the long term as markets tend to go up over long time horizons. But you saw GameStop go from like $15 to 300,
Yeah.
and that does not happen with a diversified portfolio, right? The point of
Yeah.
diversification is just like slow and steady gains over a long time. Um, so it's safer, it's less
Mm.
volatile,
Mm.
but the sort of combination that you're talking about, I do think is a good idea, right? So you've got your emergency fund, which you should always have, and just safety.
Mm.
Um, Something diversified. Generally, all of your 401k options in an employer retirement plan are
Mm-hmm.
going to be super diversified. Like even
Mm-hmm.
if all of your money is just in US large cap mutual fund, you probably have 500 or 1,000 different names within that one fund. And
Okay.
if you're in one of the target date retirement funds, you've got uh, probably 10,000 different things that you're actually invested in within those funds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then if you on your own for your personal amusement want to invest in some individual names that you feel strongly about, like, hey, I like Amazon, I like GameStop, I like whatever, because you like the stock,
Mm-hmm.
go for it,
Yeah.
and have some fun with it, right? Like finance should not be drab and boring and like this suck of energy on your soul. Like do something to make it interesting and have fun with it. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I just a couple weeks ago I like logged into Schwab probably for the first time um to like take a peek at like what I was actually contributing. Russ, did I lose you? He'll be back.
Sorry, I lost you again.
No, no, you're good. I was like, did I lose you? I was like, he'll be back.
Yep,
Um
I'm back.
okay.
So maybe don't invest in Comcast stock.
um so I was saying like different things like I have a Roth IRA because my
Yep.
dad told me that I needed a Roth IRA. Still don't really understand. Like he explains it to me all the time and I'm just like, wah, wah, whatever. Um and ditto with the like with retirement, I like just checked like my contribution like last week because
Yeah.
again, like got to move to a new company. I was just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Um what for Roth IRAs,
Yeah.
do you recommend that people have them? And then do you have an idea of like what percentage you should be contributing to your 401k?
Yeah. So the percentage is the easier part.
Okay.
10 to 15.
10 to 15?
Like shoot for
Cool.
10 to 15. That can be a big ask if you're not used to, if you haven't been doing that, to just to all of a sudden lose 10% out of your paycheck. That's a
Yeah.
chunk, right?
It hurts.
Uh, if you have an employer, so like if you're doing an IRA, you're only doing an IRA if you don't have access to a 401k through work.
Okay.
They're the same thing basically, but 401k is through an employer and IRA is just self-directed
Oh,
on your
okay.
own.
Okay.
Uh, if you have a 401k, a lot of employers will match some part of your contribution.
Yeah.
So at a minimum, get the full match because that's free money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they're going to match 2%, at least put 2% in. If they're going to
Mm-hmm.
match 50% of the first 6%,
On the
put the
fourth
6% in.
moon of
Yeah.
every 3
Yeah,
months, like
exactly. Get
whatever.
out there your financial, financial to English translator,
Yeah.
but at least get the full match. And then every year, just bump that up 1%
Mm,
until you get into that 10 to 15 range.
okay.
All right.
Cool.
In terms of the Roth, I do not have a strong opinion on Roth versus traditional. There
Okay.
are a lot of people that do. There are a lot of people in personal finance that do. Um, the argument goes that so you pay tax on the money upfront with a Roth. So once it's in the Roth, it grows tax free, and you pull it out tax free in retirement.
Okay, so what you see in there when it's time to take it out, you actually get that instead of
You actually
like
get that.
you see
Yeah.
a higher number and then you get taxed after.
Right.
Okay,
Right. So
cool.
in the traditional, that would happen. Like you look at your account and say it's got, you know, $100,000 in it. Okay. If you pull any money of that out, you're going to get taxed at normal income rates. So your 100
Mm,
is actually only like 80,
okay. Okay.
but the money goes into it pre-tax. So your tax bill right now gets lowered
Got it.
relative to the Roth. So it's just a question of do you want to pay taxes now or do you want to pay taxes later?
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
For me
That
personally, I uh, do not enjoy paying taxes. So I tend to go traditional to not pay taxes now.
okay.
But yeah, if someone feels strongly about Roth, great, go for it. My goal is to just get you investing and saving for that long-term future goal in whatever vehicle feels good to you to do it.
Cool. Cool, cool. Uh Probably like the last in the weeds, like specific financial question I have is around student loans. So,
Yes.
and what to do right now that like
Insidious.
yeah, yeah, and now what to do like in COVID now that like interest rates are like halted.
Yep.
Um so I've heard two perspectives.
Yep. What
So
do you got?
so Ben, for example, is like, I'm not paying any of it because interest rates are halted. Like, I can put my money elsewhere and get like a bigger growth or whatever. I've also heard that another perspective, which is like, I am going to pay as much down as I can. Like, I'm throwing literally everything into it while interest rates are halted.
Yeah.
Do you have a point of view on what people should be doing? And if you're like, not really, like, what would be the arguments for and against?
Um, so those two sides are reflective of different ways people feel about money, right? There is a strong camp of people that are just against debt,
Mm,
right? Um, Dave Ramsey, popular sort of personal finance guru, is very anti-debt, like which has some merits. If you never go into debt, you never really get yourself into trouble, right?
yes.
But there are people who just don't like the feeling of having this debt that sort of weighs them down, right? It's like you're just thinking about it constantly. It's kind of like this cloud, like one of those cartoon rain clouds that just follows you around and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
just like makes everything kind of miserable. And so if that is you, then yeah, it makes a lot of sense to pay that debt down, especially now while like it's kind of like let's see how to describe this.
It's like
I don't know. It's
summer
like a video game.
vacation.
Yeah, it's like a video game where you get to freeze the bad guy and like take a bunch of free hits on him while he can't do anything to you.
Okay.
Like
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
no capitalizing interest.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense. The flip side of that, people who are comfortable with debt and maybe looking at it from a more utility of money standpoint, right? Like I have, all right, so here, let's say I have $1,000
Hmm.
and I could invest this $1,000, or I could save this $1,000, put it in the bank, or I could pay off debt with this $1,000.
Oh, he'll be back.
my $1,000 to that credit card is effectively earning 18%, right? I like just made an investment worth 18% by paying down this debt.
Russ, you did cut out a little bit. So what I got
Yep.
was you have $1,000 and you could, that was pretty much it. So like
But you could blank. You could do anything you wanted with
yeah,
$1,000.
yeah, you just have
New podcast.
$1,000.
All right. So let's say your options are investing it,
Mm-hmm.
just sticking it to the bank, or paying down debt.
Yep.
Right. So let's look at paying down debt, and let's look at credit cards because those are miserable. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
say your debt is charging you interest of 15, 18, 21%. When you pay that down, you are effectively getting an 18% return on that $1,000.
Interesting.
Right. So
Interesting.
if you're talking about student loan debt, your return on that investment by paying down the debt is going to be 3%, 5%, 6%. At the moment, it's 0%.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's literally zero. You could stick that $1,000 into Bank of America, which is giving you like 0.01%. And then in a year, when you put that $1,000 towards your student loan, you'll have a tiny little bit of interest left over that you made. Now
Yeah.
that's a terrible example, but let's say instead of student loans, you invest it and
Yeah.
you diversify. You're not trying to lose this money, but so you diversify and you make 5%.
Mm-hmm.
Great. That from a utility money standpoint, that $1,000 has served you better by being invested and earning 5% than paying down this debt at 0%.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
But it really comes down to like personal feelings about money and what you're comfortable with and what you want. Because for some people, 5% is not worth the weight of just carrying around that debt for a year.
Yeah,
So
totally.
my personally, I'm more the invest it, right? I'm more the don't pay your student loan at 0% because
Yeah.
why? But I would absolutely not counsel against, if I'm going to throw in a double negative here,
Yeah.
I would absolutely be okay with someone saying, I want to throw money at student loans and pay it down. Great. Go for it.
Yeah.
If that is what you feel good about, it's not wrong. And it's not going to get you in trouble later, right? Which is really what I'm concerned about. From a financial standpoint, there are a lot of things you can do. I don't so much have issues with any of the possible options, but I do want to make sure that you just aren't doing something that would negatively affect you down the road.
Okay, so again, like another like personality thing. Like if
Yeah.
you are have a very like I would say like pragmatic, like utilitarian type of vibe to you, where you're like the most logical thing to do right now would be to invest that money. But if you have feelings, which people do, and you're just like, or like my personality type, like worrying, like I also like debt feels weird,
Mm-hmm.
then it's like improving my life to pay it down because it feels like less of a load on my shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Very
And
cool.
not just like pragmatic invest, but let's say you wanted to buy a house.
Mm.
All right, here's I don't know, let's see what the government giving out in stimulus checks, something like $3,000 if you're under the income threshold.
Hmm.
Here's $3,000. Do I put that towards a down payment on a house that I'm trying to do, or do I put it towards
Interesting.
student loans? Like,
Mm.
okay, well, your student loans aren't getting bigger right now, and you don't owe anything. So if your budget supports your normal student loan payment when that interest rate kicks back in, then fantastic. Put the $3,000 stimulus towards your down payment if you want to.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of conversations that sort of need to happen with the people I work with just to figure out what feels good to them, what's comfortable, and what makes the most sense for them, because the buy-in, right? The individual buy-in is what's important here. It's not, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
me telling you what to do is going to do not much at all, right? It's a
Yeah.
lot more important to try and help you understand how to do what you are wanting to do with your own money. Right?
That's right.
I'm just like a money guide, like a money Sherpa over here. Right?
Yes.
We're just climbing the monetary life Everest together. I'm yeah, but
Yeah.
you're the Edmund Hillary. I'm just the
Yeah.
Sherpa.
Yeah, but just like to but yeah, to like feel empowered with like what you're doing and to feel like you
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
like autonomy again. And again, that's like kind of freaky because it's like the question of like, what do I even want? Can be pretty loaded.
True.
Do you know? So, like, one, I'm curious, like, what was your financial education like prior to you like getting into finance? Like,
Yeah.
have you had an inclination to it forever?
Yes.
Mm,
My dad was in finance.
okay.
So I kind of grew up knowing that he worked in business finance things. Uh, I was had an allowance as a kid.
Okay.
I think probably starting at 8 or 9. My allowance was $1 for every year old that I was,
Okay. Okay.
and uh, a third of that had to go into the bank. I had my like my mom take us to the bank, and
Wow.
I like deposit my like $2 into the bank and like write it in the little ledger. And 10% had to go to church.
Okay.
Um, and then the other, $4 at that point uh, was mine to do with as I wished, assuming that I had actually, done the dishes and mowed the lawn and done my chores that week.
Interesting.
So I kind of grew up in a imposed financial framework that like drilled into me from a young age the importance of saving, and just like, this is just what you do every week. You get your money and you put it in the bank, and then
Mm,
great. Then, down the road, you watch it grow and you use it for something that you want.
wow.
Uh, yeah. So kind of grew up with that in the household.
That's
Um,
a beautiful structure.
it really was. I think there's a lot of value in that. And then didn't get into finance myself until late. Um, I was a double major in the sciences in undergrad, marine biology.
What was
Um,
I want to pause you right there. What was
yeah.
the original goal when you went to college? What were you going to be?
Oh yeah, I was going to be a marine biologist. I was going to be like Jeff Corwin or Steve
Wow.
Irwin. Like I went
Wow.
in, declared marine biology freshman year. Chose my college partly because of the I went to BU, and they've got a great marine program out at Woods Hole on the Cape. So went to BU partly for the marine bio program.
Wow. Showed up in
Uh,
a scuba suit and everything.
Pretty much, yeah. Scuba Steve, like first day orientation. Branched out, decided to double major in earth sciences freshman year.
Okay.
Junior year at that marine science program at Woods Hole, realized I didn't actually want to do it anymore.
Mhm.
Um, counting fish scales in a microscope at 2 a.m. and realized I just didn't care about it.
You're like,
Like,
this
it was
isn't as
fun.
cool as
It's
Steve's
interesting.
job.
I
Yeah.
liked it, but I just didn't care about it.
Interesting.
So yeah, so took a little detour. At that point, I had 1 year left in college, so I just graduated the degrees. Uh,
Yeah.
got a job teaching biology over in England at
So
a boarding school
cool.
for a year.
So
Uh,
cool.
Realized teaching wasn't really my thing, so came back home. Went through officer candidate school from the Marine Corps. Decided to decline the commission because military wasn't quite my thing.
Yep.
And then went to business school at that point because I had an interest in business
Mm.
broadly. I'm air quoting that. Um, but I had no experience at all. 2 lab sciences kept me pretty much busy through college, just taking science and math courses.
Yeah.
Uh, so I thought an MBA would, one, give me exposure to a lot of different areas that get lumped together as business.
Mhm.
and would be a decent substitute for an entry level job, and instead of like, a major or any coursework or any kind of finance related position at all in my life.
Yeah.
Uh, and so that worked for me. Um, the MBA was completely unnecessary for the job that I was doing at State Street, but I think I needed it to get the job in the first place. you
Right.
know,
Right.
yeah. So, yep, I was at State Street with Ben on the sales side, selling ETFs,
Mhm.
and that wasn't my thing. Like, I did not care about that job at all. Like, I'm
Okay.
talking to these advisors, and if they bought State Street's ETF versus Vanguard's, it made zero difference. But I could see that the advisors, the people across the table from me, they are having an actual impact on their clients' lives, and like
Mm,
that seemed like where I wanted to be. So when I was
yeah.
with State Street, I went back and got my CFP designation, the Certified Financial Planner,
Mhm.
and after 5 years with State Street, decided to leave and start my own shop and just go solo.
Was
And it
that oh,
has been fantastic.
I love to hear that. Was that a hard decision to, like, leave, or was that, like, one of the easiest decisions?
It was an easy decision. I think I was a little bit fortunate in sort of life circumstances
Mm.
because I always knew I wanted to leave State Street. I knew that pretty early on. Um, but I had just broken up with a long-term girlfriend and um, had just turned 30. So I was kind of doing like this introspective self-reflection that comes when you see another number in the front of
Woof.
your age.
Woof.
And yeah, was at a point where um, nobody was depending on me, right? So
Yeah.
if I needed to go back to craft Easy Mac for a year while I
Mhm.
try and build this business, great. I don't have a kid who I need to provide for. I don't have, a partner that I need to provide for. So in that sense, it was pretty easy because the only one at risk really was myself. And that was something I was perfectly comfortable with, perfectly comfortable
Mm.
doing. So I think for me, it was a lot easier to make that decision versus in a position where, maybe you're mid 30s and you have a family at that point. And so it's harder because you can't just cut that lifestyle because your
Yeah.
decision impacts more than just yourself at that point.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, that's cool. Was anything, like, surprising to you, like, starting your own company, or was, like
Yeah, the two things that were hardest. Well, one was just a very like not getting a paycheck is difficult,
wow, yeah,
right? And so just
yeah.
the adjustment of being super cognizant of the fact that all the money you have in the world is in this one pile, and literally everything you do just makes that pile a little bit smaller.
Oh my
It's like
god.
so
Oh my god.
you gotta stop doing the pour over coffees and just do whatever they have on drip in the morning, right?
Wow.
Because like that's significant. Or just you don't do cocktails out anymore, or you don't you you're just very aware of how your entire life savings is just constantly getting smaller by the day, and like very aware of all the things you spend money on that you didn't
Wow.
realize. It's like, oh, I got to pay this cable bill again.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Gas
Like,
tank is
oh,
low again.
gas tank is
Like,
low.
you're gonna
Yeah.
start, like, actually looking at, like, gas prices and, like
Oh yeah.
like,
Yeah. There's that was definitely an adjustment where like you
wow.
get to you get to Friday and you're like, oh, my account didn't go up. Oh, okay, that's right. That's a sad feeling. um,
How long was that stage for you?
um, it still is.
Still is?
Honestly,
Okay, okay.
yeah. Um, I I it took I think it took 2 years to break even, where I was actually making more than I was spending in the course of a year.
Mm,
Uh, and I am still now 5 years in, uh, rebuilding my emergency fund to where I
okay,
want it to be. All
okay.
right. So there is definitely still a sense of, like it's not sort of the same impending doom watching this number, because I do see it now go up and down,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I think still very aware of um, just the impact that spending has, right? And
Yeah.
like, when I had to buy a new car a
Oh,
few years ago, it's like, all right, we're gonna go used,
yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
used on this one. Like
Got
there is
it.
no room in this budget for a new car.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was tricky to adjust to was just the blending of work and life.
Mm,
Uh, because there wasn't any more like I have to do these work things when I'm at work, and I have to do these life things now on the weekends and at home. Like it
mm,
all sort of merges,
mm.
and like my to-do list just became one of like, what's most urgent? Okay, I have to send out these 2 emails, and then I have to do laundry,
Okay.
and then I have to like eat, and then I have more emails to send out. And so it was like sort of a weird, like, I'm sure a lot of people have experienced this last year as everyone sort of went work from home, but like
Yeah.
it just messes with your mind a little bit. The sort of like
Yes.
where you have to artificially create that work-life balance
Yes.
somehow without any tangible framework to do it in.
Yes. I originally had big plans for work from home. I'm like, this is amazing. Like the laundry basket will never be filled because I have all of this time. I can totally do it. And then it just
Yeah.
like didn't happen. It's just like it's weird. It's because so
Yeah.
you have more time, but it doesn't.
It, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
That was an adjustment. That took. So at first, I actually rented some office space to just to get out of my
Yeah.
house, and like, all right, this is my work area. This is work focus time. Um, that stopped mostly because I couldn't support the expense. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right,
Totally.
too expensive. I'm gonna have to make this work at home.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Wow. What is the most rewarding part of your job? Or like is there like a specific case that like just like lights you up or is there specific like yeah, what's like the best part?
The best part is seeing the impact on the clients' lives, and like just seeing that what I'm doing is making a difference, and like a positive difference, right? I've got a couple clients who were forced into early retirement, and they're like, all right, here's my 401k. This is all the savings I have. Like, this is my life savings. Here you go.
No
Um,
pressure.
yeah, no pressure. But some of the things that come with that, right? Like, all right, you don't have a job anymore. So um, we need to take a little bit of this money out to show that you have an income so that you can get on um, the Affordable Care Act subsidized healthcare. And if we
Mhm.
like take out enough to make it look like you just above the poverty line, you're going to get a massive subsidy. And so you're going to get your healthcare for basically free,
Mm.
right? Uh,
Mm.
which is a huge savings over either on the one hand paying full cost. If you're 62, you're paying like $1,000 a month for healthcare,
Yeah.
or if you say that you don't have income and your state hasn't expanded Medicare, they force you into community health centers, or at least
Mm.
Georgia does.
Mm.
Uh, so just being able to work the system for the benefit of my clients, I find hugely rewarding, right?
Yeah.
Because effectively, it's a game. The Robin Hoods make like they focus on the investing and the gamification of investing to make you invest, but really the entire financial system in this country is a game, and you just need to know the rules and how to play it.
Right.
And so being able to do that on behalf of my clients, um, and to see them living. I mean, the one client I'm thinking about here it's been like 5 years now, and he's lived well for the 5 years and still has more money than he gave me initially.
Wow.
So to be able to do that for someone that they wouldn't be able to affect the same result on their own, I find that very gratifying.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I have two quick questions to wrap us up. One, if someone hasn't had like a financial upbringing, like with like
Yeah.
some structure, like wasn't really educated on it, obviously personal finance is a joke. Um, the class, not like,
Yeah.
not the practice.
Not my life's work.
Yeah, exactly. That would
Yeah.
be so crazy. Are there any like resources that you really like, or like books that you recommend to people to kind of like get their head wrapped around money?
Man, uh, there's nothing specific. I think like if you just went to Barnes and Noble, um, any of the personal finance books are a good place to start, right?
Okay.
Like I've said a couple of times, there are a lot of right ways that one can do personal finance.
Right.
Um, so one of the books I like, and we talked about this a little bit, was Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Right.
which really uh, is slightly more advanced in that I think a big feature of that book is talking about the investing and,
Mm.
kind of a more aggressive approach to what your quote unquote personal balance sheet looks like. Um, which depending on where you're at in your relationship with money may be a little bit down the road, and you just need like budgeting for dummies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's cool too. That's nothing wrong with that. Um, yeah, so I think an author that you've heard of, or like pick up a book, and if it sounds interesting, cool, give it a shot.
Cool. Cool. I will say a plug for Rich Dad Poor Dad. Ben's making me read it, and I was very reluctant to do it because the cover looks so bad, and it's like Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm just like, what does that have to do with me though? But if you like actually give it a shot and read it, it does read like a story. It's not like a textbook thing. So, don't judge a book by its cover, even though I totally did. But
Yeah, that nice two-tone.
yeah, I was like, ew, it's purple. Like, I don't, and then, yeah. The author's just on the cover, like with a thumbs up. And I'm like, oh my God. But it does read like much better than that. Another option is to chat with a financial planner. If you
Yes.
aren't sure what to do. So, Russ, how can we find you / ATI Wealth Partners?
Yeah, if you're in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, just stop on by. If you're not, um, yeah, you can. I've got my little corner of the internet at www.atiwealthpartners.com. You can contact me there, or shoot me an email, Russ, at atiwealthpartners.com. And yeah, always have.
He'll be back. Russ. Okay. I caught up to I'm always happy.
Always happy to make sure. Always happy to chat with people, answer questions, and just make sure that they're on the right path with whatever they're looking at the moment.
Cool. So if you're in a bind, don't know what to do, like you can reach out to Russ.
Absolutely.
What I really love is that you like humanize money. So it's like
Thank you.
you really do. Like you make it like not feel so scary, and like, and it is, which is surprising to me, but very like emotional kind of driven and like tailored to like personality and very human. And I've
Yeah.
never felt that way about finances. It's always felt
Mm,
like very robotic and like really complicated and scary. So I really appreciate that.
absolutely. Happy I can help, and that's I'm glad to hear you say that. That's what I'm trying to do. Money gets a bad rap maybe because it's so right-brained, numbers, logical, um, but money is just an artificial construct, right? Not to jump down a rabbit hole at the end of the podcast here, but money is just an artificial construct that society has agreed is a good medium of exchange to get other things that you actually want.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think there absolutely should be um, art and emotion and uh, personal values and beliefs in finance. 100%.
Mm, mm, love it. Thank you so much, Russ. Thank you for your
Hey, thanks
time
for
and your
having me.
knowledge. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.